What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Cole. We got tons of content for you today. We're going to be recapping the All-Star Weekend. The good parts, we're not going to talk about, the obvious stuff that happened that weekend. We're going to be talking some NFL worst to first scenarios and first to worst scenarios. We're going to try to keep that short, as we also have some NFL draft questions that you guys asked us on Instagram. So this should all be good. But before we get into any of that, Daniel, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. The sun is shining bright in Philadelphia. There's a lot of interesting first or worst takes to really get into because there's a lot of teams that made the playoffs, and I think they could really just tank next year and not be as good as they were this year.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get into that. But before we get into that, I have two things to say. One, if you guys hear any dog like things, I'm recording in my kitchen, just testing out better lighting. But I'll do my best to edit that out. But kitchen sign says let's eat, so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna eat. And quick shout out to our guys, Belly Up Podcast Network. They've helped us really get started, help us put all of our stuff out on every platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and other platforms as well. So, and if you're, looking to start a podcast, I would get with them. They got cheap deals to get you started real quick. They're really simple and easy, and make sure you go follow them on Instagram and Twitter, and also follow Belly Up Sports and all the other podcasts that are with them. It's great stuff. So, let's get started with an NBA All-Star recap. We're really just going to talk about everything but the horrendous dunk contest. In our original predictions of Danny nearly went. His prediction for the dunk contest was Obi Toppin winning, but we're not going to talk about it. But he still got it right, and he also got the skills comp right. I took the rookies, he took the Cavs, but I have to see the vision on why you picked the Cavs.
I don't know. The Cavs just have a lot of diversity in that group. You had the score, you had the length. I feel like they had someone who could do a version of everyone who could do it all. They all did their thing, and I guess they all did their part. And I think that team in the next couple of years is one to be reckoned with. I don't think this is their year. I mean, LeBron even spoken on All-Star Weekend. Hey, I might come back to Cleveland. Depends where Bronny goes. Cleveland, if I'm you, I'm getting every asset away. I'm trading Sexton. I'm trading Garland. I'm trading everyone I can to get Bronny to get LeBron back.
Nah. And it's not obviously LeBron is better than Darius Garland, but he's going to be around a little longer. And LeBron has, his team is pretty bad, but he's shown he just cannot take a team to the absolute highest level of play. And it's going to be his last year. He could be cruising, who knows. But moving on to the All-Star game, 3-point competition, my runner-up prediction was Karl Anthony Towns. And I was up at Kutztown, and everyone called me crazy. They called me crazy for picking Karl Anthony Towns as my runner-up so much that I said I changed it to that he'd win because they're haters. They said the shot was too slow. I think he looked great, and obviously he did because he's the first center to ever win. Who was your pick again? Who's your pick?
My pick was Trae Young.
He made it to the finals, right? He was in the finals with Luke Kennard and Cat.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that was honestly probably the highlight of that night. And then nothing else happened that night. So moving on to the All-Star game, which I absolutely loved. There was semi-competitiveness, and then you get down to that last 24 points you got to score. Steph Curry was nuclear, but nothing new. When things got rough, Steph Curry choked, and he did not get the record. And LeGoat clutched up, hit that fadeaway in front of Embiid and Levine. This is for you, Cleveland Part 2. What did you think about the game? I loved it. I think it's one of the best All-Star games in professional sports.
I think it is the best All-Star game in professional sports. Like, hockey is a close second. Hockey just had a successful All-Star weekend in Vegas. I think the NFL really needs to transition to a post-Super Bowl 7v7. Let's have some fucking fun. Let's make shit happen.
I agree.
It's at this point in time, the All-Star game is just too boring in the NFL. And baseball really doesn't mean anything, although they are throwing 100 miles an hour still in the All-Star game, which has no meaning. What are they playing for? A couple like millions of dollars to charity? The NFL, the NBA
Hey,
actually, they
it's still a big thing.
playing for fun. I mean, they're playing for charity, but like they used to be playing for home field advantage in the World Series, which is really
speaking of charity, Luka Doncic cheated Kevin Durant's charity out of $50,000 because he tied it up at the end of, I believe, the third period. So Luka Doncic, it makes sense why MJ went up to him in warmups. They both agree, fuck them kids.
Yeah, they both do not care about them kids. And that is very
ironic. All right, well, I'll start.
Penn State is running their mini-thon at this point.
Oh, man. All right, well, moving on to some NFL worst to first. Obviously, we need some, like prerequisites for this. You can't, like the Dolphins won't be worst to first. They got hot near the end of the year. They don't count. It has to be a top 10 team.
Not worse though.
It could be top.
The Dolphins were third seed in their division. So we're
but they were fighting for a playoff spot till the end. So I don't want to count them. I want to say top 10 draft order, and that doesn't include like the Jets having the Seahawks pick. Like the Jets were the third or the fourth worst team, and the Seahawks were the 10th worst team. So we're gonna go off by that. Danny, I'm gonna let you go first because I asked you and you didn't want to tell me, so I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, so my worst to first pick really pains me to say this. As a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I believe the Baltimore Ravens will reignite a spark, and the Ravens, although we hooping is going to go crazy, the Ravens are going to win the division. Lamar Jackson's going to be back. Their defense is going to be good. Marlon Humphrey is going to be back. Marcus Peters is going to be back. Dude, they played this whole season with a fifth-string running back. Tyler Huntley was their quarterback half the season. They still went 8-9. If they would have beat the Steelers week 18, they would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, man. I think if they were just healthy, I think like this is the awkward like worst to first because they obviously weren't a bad team. They were just unhealthy. But I really do like that pick though because a lot of people have been sleeping on Lamar Jackson. I've seen a lot of people, have Lamar around their 8 to 10 in their QB list. Top 5. He's top 5. I don't know what he did for that to to go away. Like, sure, he played a couple bad games before he got hurt, but he was still winning. That's what good quarterbacks do. When
Deshaun Watson is better than Lamar when they're both healthy.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree.
If Deshaun Watson's on the field, Deshaun Watson's probably the 5th best quarterback in the NFL at this point of time, maybe the 4th.
He's really talented, but he has to beat some allegations first.
You say that Lamar's top 5, and what's your 5? Because my 5 would be no order: Mahomes, Rodgers, Herbert, Deshaun Watson, and Josh Allen. But
I'm not including Deshaun Watson because he's just not playing right. If he was, then Lamar's 6, but it would be Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Rodgers, and then Lamar or Watson. I guess depending on.
I think this is we don't know if Rodgers is going to play at this point. I don't know if you saw his Instagram post last night, but Aaron Rodgers.
I couldn't give 2 craps about Aaron Rodgers.
I know, but he might fall in the retirement category. He was stanking
I don't care about edgelord Aaron Rodgers. But let's move on to my pick. My worst to first pick is quite literally worst to first. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe that they could strike. All they have to do is strike big in free agency, overpay a wide receiver, maybe Mike Williams, Chris Godwin, maybe try to get Michael Thomas with some assets. I say take Evan Neal with the first overall pick. I don't think he's the best prospect. I think that's Kyle Hamilton, but I think Trevor Lawrence, you got your guy, and the 3 most important people on a team is your quarterback, guy who protects the quarterback, and the guy who is to get the quarterback. And with questions about Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson, could he really be worth a number 1 overall pick? Which maybe he is, but I think Evan Neal would be a good choice, or any of those top tier tackles.
I don't think they can
overpay a wide receiver.
I don't think Evan Neal's the best tackle. I don't think Evan Neal's the best tackle in the draft. I think Kevin McCormick.
And I don't disagree with whoever you think it is, but those guys are like they're a tier 1, can't go wrong. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. It's like But a couple years ago, there was those 2 tackles in the draft. You had Mekhi Becton, you had Tristan Wirfs, and the Giants said, "I'm going to take Andrew Thomas." What?
The Giants tend to miss, and we'll bring up the Giants a little bit later. But I think if you overpay a wide receiver class is huge. You overpay a guy, maybe get George Pickens or maybe get Chris Olave at some point if he can fall, or you trade up to get him, whoever knows. And then, you got DJ Chark, an overpaid receiver like let's say Chris Godwin, for example, and then you got, and then let's say you get George Pickens. You got some weapons for Trevor Lawrence. James Robinson won't get, he won't have Urban Meyer next year, so he'll be able to get some carries. And that division is sorry. Texans are sorry. The Colts, they don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. And I was never really high on the Titans to begin with. So I think the Jaguars could easily win this division. Now I'm going to go ahead and say they will win this division. I truly believe they can go worst to first. With Doug Peterson, of course.
I really like that pick, given that I believe that Colts said that Carson Wentz will not be on the roster next year. They're going to cut him for cap space or try to trade him. Ryan Tannehill is a wide receiver that throws the ball at this point. I think Mohamed Sanu could do the same exact thing that Ryan Tannehill is doing, just handing the ball off and
spitting bars.
He's doing a play action and run a couple RPOs. I mean, I think Nick Foles could step into Tennessee and run that offense the same way Tannehill does.
That RPO merchant.
He's literally an RPO merchant. He makes his money off. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing, but I think that's
if it works, you don't got to fix it. All right, well, let's move on to some first. We're gonna move on to some first to worst. So basically, the opposite. A team. The prerequisite was at first you have to make it to the second round, but there are some teams that kind of got edged out in the first round, and it happens. But I'll go first on this one. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They had a lot of things go their way in this postseason. Their defense played phenomenal against Tennessee. It came down to the last play against Oakland, and in the Super Bowl, Odell goes down. So they can then already Robert Woods wasn't already there. So you could put a lot of attention on Kupp, and he was still beating you. The Rams, Eric Weddle tore his pec in the first quarter. So now you have like an injured, really old safety, and you still couldn't take advantage of it. And then you had the face mask. Outside of that, they did nothing in the second half. They couldn't really get a run game going. Neither team could. But, yeah. So I'll take them because I believe that the Steelers are a quarterback away. I believe the Ravens just got to get healthy. And I kind of have to hinge on Baker Mayfield doing his every other year thing. So year 1, good. Year 3, good. And then hopefully year 5, good. So this will pan out, but I don't think it would happen. But this is just the most likely scenario for me. This is not to say Joe Burrow still won't perform at a franchise QB level or Jamar Chase takes like a step back or anything. It's kind of, I don't know, a reality check when the rest of the league gets healthy and maybe some things don't go their way. Who's yours? First or worst?
My pick it's different than what I told you before we talked about this. My feelings have changed even in a short amount of time. Dez didn't catch it. Yes. The Dallas Cowboys will be first to worst.
Dallas Cowboys.
They are negative $21 million in cap, meaning they will have to get rid of Ezekiel Elliott. Michael Gallup tore his ACL. They're down to really scraps on the wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb either has to take a really big jump up, or Dak Prescott's going to have to take over. I don't know if Dak is really what we think he is. I think he really got exposed of having a good offensive coordinator and having a good offense around him. Zeke is horrendous for his contract. Tony Pollard is great. He should be getting a lot more carries. Their O-line is falling apart. They're getting old. Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs are really generational talents, I believe. But aside from that, they have nobody else on that team that can make an impact on a game-to-game basis. And I could see teams like the Giants getting healthy, Saquon getting an O-line, the Commanders, the newly formed Commanders. I could see them grabbing a quarterback in the draft and really just being a little bit better than the Cowboys. I think the Eagles really win the division next year, ultimately, with 3 first-round draft picks. Hurts is going to take this next level to step up through 30 touchdown passes. I'm getting bold here, but I really think that the Cowboys take that full step back.
I completely agree. Michael Parsons is someone they can build around on defense, but outside of that, it is really tough. Tough cap space. Just really a lot to deal with. And you said what I wanted to say, but I'm a biased Eagles fan, so I can't really say that.
Yeah, it's really similar to the Steelers and how they were for a long time. You got a stud player on defense, and you got cap casualty on offense and cap casualty all around the rest of the team. And you don't know what to do to build around it. And I think the Cowboys, as they have been for a long time, will be stuck in misery.
Yeah, not a bad take. But moving on to some NFL draft questions that we got. We'll start with the first one. It's a pretty high demand question was who's going to be the first QB off the board? Knowing that a lot of these guys are considered not, franchise changers. They're not high end, talents. Malik Willis has a pretty high upside. Ritter could have a high upside, but a lot of people don't see it. Danny, who do you think's the first QB off the board? Where do you think they're going?
This is all pre-combine, pre-NFL scouting. So given that there's no hype leading up to someone having a 45-inch vertical, I'm going to say Kenny Pickett. His film kind of jumps off the charts relatively to the other quarterbacks. He has that high upside like Malik Willis, and you can see his arm talent, and he struggles with the deep ball sometimes, but you can see flashes of Justin Herbert in him.
I think that's a funny comparison. I think Kenny Pickett has a noodle arm compared to Herbert. Herbert, I don't know. Herbert wasn't super aggressive at Oregon because they wouldn't let him. But I'm gonna go with Desmond Ritter to the Broncos. That will put him in such a great situation. You have a great defense. You got good weapons. He could really have a successful first year and probably get to the playoffs with a team like that. The
Broncos really have a high tendency to take that tall white quarterback. You don't think they're going to take Carson Strong?
I don't think there's a way you can mess this up. I mean, I think there's like a little bit of a tier. Like I do think it's Pickett, Howe, and Ritter. And then Malik Willis is like his weird own little tier because he is such a high potential, but he's just nowhere near it yet. As to like how Ritter, Pickett,
you need to make better reads.
Maybe the Steelers trade up to get Willis because that's had a lot of hype.
I think they trade up to like with the Eagles to 15 or something if he's there to make sure the Saints don't grab him.
Not a bad idea. All right, well, moving on to the next question was who do you think is going to be just the first player off the board? I said it earlier. I think it's going to be Evan Neal. I think he's the best tackle in the draft, like very narrowly. Huge stud out of Alabama. He's important to what they need to get done. So that's who I'm going with. Do you think the Jaguars do anything else at one?
I mean, what I would do with the Jaguars is take Kyle Hamilton. I'm a really big fan of Kyle Hamilton. He's a 6'4", ball-hawking, generational talent at safety. But I'm not in the front office of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think they're going to take none other than their choice of defensive end, which is Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson. I think they wind up with Hutchinson because his pass rush moves are a little bit more mature, as you saw with some people who don't. Some people don't have the counters in. Hutchinson has more deeper bag of pass rush moves. Meanwhile, you kind of see comparisons of Michael Parsons as an edge rusher to Kayvon Thibodeau with that he just kind of bull rushes people and tries to get by them. Michael Parsons is a physical beast. So if Kayvon Thibodeau can do that for a long time, he could really slot in the same physical demeanor.
I definitely see it. All right, well, we're running out of time, so moving on to our last question was, what do you think the Eagles in what position will they be when it comes draft time? And that can mean anything. They could use those picks to go get a quarterback, which I disagree. I don't think they should do. Personally, I think they get Nakobe Dean. And you're a huge fan of this one to get Linderbaum. I think we just got Landon Dickerson last year. and he's played the guard role pretty well. So I don't know if we would go Linderbaum. Maybe we could be safer going with the center later rounds, but it's not a bad pick. I would like it if it happened. I'm not mad at all. I think in that situation we should go with an edge rusher. Edge rushers, it's huge. There's a lot of them.
There's a name.
Any
There's
of
a
them
name
will
that's
really
been
do.
drafted. There's a name that's been really falling in a lot of mock drafts, and he's from a small school. Drew Brees went to that school, Purdue. George Karlaftis might fall into the Eagles' lap, and at 15 and 16, you take the Kobe Dean and Karlaftis, or you take Sauce Gardner. Ideally, if I'm the Eagles,
I don't even know if Gardner will be there.
He might not be there. I think you could get like a Roger McCreary type guy. I think he could be cornerback 1 in this draft when all comes and says at the end of the day. His technique is there. In the NFL, sometimes your speed doesn't matter. Sometimes your technique really takes over.
And then at 19, I think they get a receiver. Olave would be my choice, but that's what I just think they do. Don't trade. Don't go get a quarterback. You're not necessarily in win now mode. You're already ahead of schedule. You don't really got to push to win now. So don't give up the future for a Russell Wilson who's, in the last 3 seasons, I would say, has just flamed out in the second half of years. Or Deshaun Watson, we don't even know if he'll be cleared to play. You could trade these draft picks and he's not playing. So
here's what I say. I say the Eagles, what they should do is trade that second round pick for Calvin Ridley, and if they decide not to do that, then what you do is sign Chris Godwin, bring him home. He's from Middletown, Delaware. Bring him home to Philadelphia on a 5-year deal, and pair Devontae Smith with arguably a top 10 route runner in the NFL.
Top 10 receiver in the NFL.
Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
When playing,
Chris
Godwin. Yeah.
Chris Godwin at that point.
I'm thinking first scenario. Yeah, Chris Godwin also can be top 10 when healthy. So
I think you saw Chris Godwin put up 1,400 yards, and he was the number 1 receiver in the Bucs offense for that time.
All right. Well, we're running out of time. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. If you're on Spotify, download. Make sure you follow us there too. Give us a 5-star rating. That is an option to do on Spotify, Apple Music. Make sure you download. We'll be also releasing on Sunday. This will be releasing on Wednesday. So if anything happens between now and then, not our fault. But Danny, anything you would like to say before we go?
No, I think this is a great episode. I think we really laid out a lot of plans for the Eagles to succeed in this offseason. Eagles have some decent amount of cap space to go get it done. And the first round of the NFL draft is going to be wild because there's not that Trevor Lawrence. There's not that Justin Fields. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I find that interesting too, man. Well, from us at Sideline Summit, thank you for watching, and make sure you guys have a great day.